Airbnb game has changed. Gone are the days where you could list any old property and get steady bookings. The fact is, number one, the platform is more flooded than ever. Since 2020, millions of new listings have been added, making it even harder for you and your property to get noticed. Number two, guest expectations are so much higher, with so many expecting hotel-like experiences, but not hotel prices. Number three, the platform itself has changed, and unless you're offering something like this, you're boring. And lastly, Airbnb isn't even the biggest player in the game. It's a platform used mainly by millennials, and 59% of the users are aged between 25 and 44. In short, it's over. It's done. Finito. Go to crypto or drop shipping or OnlyFans or something. But in spite of all that, how is it this property's done £40,000 a year? This place earns £50,000 a year. This place £178,000 a year. And all these places combined over £4 million a year. The Airbnb game is over for a lot of hosts, but the truth is they just didn't play with the right strategy.
You gotta talk strategy.
If you want to dominate from day one, then follow these 6 rules of the game. Ready, player one. So to demonstrate this first rule, I'm going to use a prop. We've all played this. Many a family argument has been started over that game. Now, we all know from playing Monopoly that the brown ones are the worst properties. They're the cheapest, there's only 2 of them. You have a hotel on there and you're only making 450 monies or 250 monies. These properties are crap, but yet in Airbnb, I see people all the time snapping up these cheap properties and expecting they're gonna get Mayfair or Park Lane prices. The fact of the matter is, these places are cheap for a reason. And if you buy properties like that in real life for Airbnb, they're going to get you just as little return on that investment as you will a Monopoly. Now, it works both ways, because at the other end of the spectrum, we have these 2 monsters. These are the prized, coveted ones that when people buy them, when they have actually enough money to buy them, they think, ha ha ha, game over, I'm going to clean up and someone lands on it. And what happens? Hardly anyone ever lands on these. So you've spent massive money to buy these, and yeah, if someone lands on it, you're getting either 1,500 monies or 2,000 monies. That's a lot, but the reality is no one really ever lands on them. And these again play out in real life. While there's so many people that go for the cheapest properties possible, these represent the very expensive high-end properties that, to be honest, are probably too good for Airbnb. These might be in highly desirable residential areas, close to the best schools and stuff like that. They might not even be in the best location for tourists or visitors to your area. And that simply means they're overpriced. You're going for the wrong market. You're never going to be able to achieve the nightly rates you need to justify buying these. So what are the best properties to buy in Monopoly and in real life? Well, did you know there actually is statistically the best color of properties in Monopoly? What do you think it is? Have a guess.
Take a guess.
It's the orange ones. These are the ones that deliver the best return on investment. There's 3 of them for a start, so there's more chance to get landed on. They're not that expensive, but the actual yield, the return on investment from what you've paid to what you get in rent is the best in the game. So with a hotel, you're getting 1,000 monies, 950 monies, and 950 monies. Now the orange are closely followed by the red. These are even cheaper than the orange ones, and they're much more accessible to buy, much easier access to market, and the players are going to land on them much more frequently through the game. So to summarize, rule number 1 is don't bother with Airbnb unless you're willing to put the work in to research an area to ensure that the demand is there and that you're going to get a good return on your investment. Use platforms like Airbnb, just snoop around in the Airbnb platform itself, but do something. Make sure that research is done. Make sure you're crystal clear about what rates you're going to be able to charge for this property in this street. Otherwise, you're just winging it and you could end up with a property that you've overpaid for with no demand, or you've bought an absolute dog and no one wants to stay in it because it's an unsafe or dangerous area. Rule number 2, you need to understand whenever you're bringing a property to market that your property stands in an ecosystem or an environment of other properties in that street or area or town or city. When potential guests are searching for stays in your area, your little listing is going to show up among hundreds of other ones in your street that are available for those days. Now you've got to get your business hat on here and do some competitor analysis. This is a big bad world out there, and if your property isn't up to scratch, isn't up to the same standard as the other ones in the market will eat you up and spit you out again. If everyone in your street has a hot tub, you've got to get a hot tub, because if you don't, you're going to get left behind. The fact is, it's ruthless out out there. Guests discount properties within a split second of seeing them in the search results, and they just don't need any extra reason to just keep scrolling on by. It's overwhelming enough. They want as many ways to discount properties as they can to make their job of selecting where they're going to book easier. So if you give them any excuse to scroll past your property, they will. So rule number 2 is don't bother getting started in Airbnb unless you're going to know what the standard is in your area and absolutely smash your competition. Rule number 3, don't get started in Airbnb unless you've hit subscribe and bought this book. Shameless plug, but I know what I'm doing. I've been around the block a few times. I've managed over 100 properties since I got started about 15 years ago, hosted over 100,000 guests. This year alone, we've done over £4 million in bookings. £4 million in bookings. I've seen the industry since before Airbnb even existed. I've seen the growing levels of competition. I've seen the algorithm changes. I've seen people flood the market. I've seen the customers turn on the Airbnb platform themselves. And I honestly mean what I said at the start. The days of just putting on any old shit and getting fully booked are gone. And they should be gone. This is a hospitality business. You can't bring substandard properties to the market and expect guests or bookings to just drop in. Remember, these bookings are real people coming on their holidays. They're spending their real hard-earned cash in you and your property, and if it's not good enough, they're just not going to book it. These are market forces of supply and demand, just like any other business in any other industry. But it's not difficult, it's not hard. You just have to put the work in to do the things. If you're going to be lazy, if you're going to cut corners, you get found out. Because remember, every single person comes and stays in your place, leaves a review for the world to see, so there's nowhere to hide. Rule number 4, the Airbnb industry standard is slowly leveling up. Guests are paying more to come and stay in places. You know, back when Airbnb started, it used to be a sofa bed or a mattress on the floor in someone's spare room. Things have changed. These are now bespoke, chic, beautiful accommodations that people are coming to stay in, but they're not just buying the product of a bed and 4 walls. They want an experience. So we have to think less like real estate or property investors and more like hoteliers. From the moment the guest makes that booking, you are the butler or the concierge for their entire stay. They're going to want to know where's the best vegan places to eat, how do they get to your place at night coming from this direction, why can't they bring their dog, can they get a discount on the cleaning fee because they're going to be really tidy. So many questions come thick and fast at you, and you've got to smile and answer them all. It can be frustrating, it can be hard, you get some nice guests but also some horrible guests, but honestly the interaction that I used to have with the guests was my favorite part of running the business. They are your customers, they are the ones that are putting food on your table, helping you feed your kids and buy them presents, so you have to look after them, because if you don't, they're going to leave you some shit reviews and your property's just going to tank. So rule number 4 is don't bother getting started in Airbnb unless you're ready to deliver exceptional customer service. Rule number 5, in this industry there are a lot of spinning plates, moving parts, fires that you need to put out immediately, and emergencies that just land in your lap. Guests get lost, you get double bookings, guests want to cancel last minute, guests run out of toilet paper. There are so many urgent things that you absolutely need to reply to and deal with instantly. But then there are other things that are important but not urgent. And like everything in life, the important but not urgent things are the things that we just put off. I'll do that tomorrow, I'll do that later, I'll do that next week. We never do them. One of those things is one of the most important things in this industry, in this business. It's adjusting your rates to make sure they remain competitive. Now, I just don't mean putting prices down in periods of low demand or when you have a gap. I'm talking about putting prices up in periods of high demand and when there's like some festival or Taylor Swift's coming to town.
Who's Taylor Swift?
Having dynamic pricing that changes on a daily basis based on a variety of things like how long is someone staying, how far away in advance are they booking, what day of the week it is, like what the demand is like. It's crucial in this business to maximize the financial return from your property. Having rates that you just set and forget can cost you tens of thousands of monies every year. And that will be the case of there'll be gaps, there'll be nights that go unsold because you didn't reduce the prices down quick enough. Likewise, there'll be bookings that come in at rock bottom prices because Taylor Swift was coming and you didn't catch it quick enough. It costs you thousands. Either way, it's an absolute disaster, but it's hard work to do. You're fiddling around, you're doing one day here, then you gotta wait, see if a booking comes in. What hasn't, put it down another wee bit. There's lots of work involved. There's lots of headspace. In hotels, revenue managers are full-time, well-paid positions. And remember, we need to think about ourselves as hoteliers. Rule number 5 is don't bother getting started in Airbnb unless you're going to be using a rate pricing software like Price Labs, Wheelhouse, Beyond Pricing. These are the algorithms and the platforms that cost a few quid but will deliver you an enormous return on investment. I'm talking like you could be doing 25, 30, 35% higher revenue than if you were just messing around, fiddling about yourself. And the best thing is, not only does it get you more money, it saves you all that time, and that important but not urgent thing that you've been putting off gets done. Something else is taking care of it. It's another thing off your plate. Rule number 6. Let's be honest, none of my properties look like this, and I'm guessing none of yours do either. I'm never going to show up on Airbnb's homepage, and neither are you. And that's probably why I get a small amount of bookings from Airbnb platform, and the vast majority of ours come from bigger boys of hospitality like Booking.com. The Expedia umbrella, which includes Hotels.com and other ones, and Booking.com are both bigger platforms than Airbnb, with more users, more market share. They're just bigger and better. You know, they were set up long before Airbnb. They exist to serve hotels and basically everyone who wants to come and travel and stay anywhere else. We show up beside hotels, which is unlike Airbnb, and the gap between these platforms is really starting to grow. Like, it's a chasm now. Are you going to be able to book a UFO on Booking.com? I don't know. You probably actually could, but you can definitely book it on Airbnb. But most people, like if I'm going on holiday, don't really want to stay in a UFO. I just want a nice either apartment or a hotel. I'm just going to pick Booking.com. Now, I'm not saying don't be on Airbnb. You definitely should. But the facts are clear. Look at the breakdown of my bookings over the last year. Tiny percentage from Airbnb, vast more from Booking.com, as well as direct bookings. So rule number 6 is don't bother starting on Airbnb if Airbnb is the only one that you're going to list on. Now, of course, like any game, it's not just about having the right strategies to enable you to win, but you also need to know how to avoid the mistakes so that you don't lose. And I give you the 13 biggest ones that you need to avoid in this video, which you need to watch next.